r/ask Reddit. Which tradition needs to die? That you have to get Christmas presents for people no matter how broke you are to prove you care. I work in the debt relief industry and our enrollment rates skyrocket in January every single year. It ain't right, man. Edit. Oh my word. I didn't expect this thread to blow up like that. And thank you very much for the silver. Kind stranger. I agree with this as an adult who doesn't want to accumulate random items I don't need just because people feel required to give me gifts. I always appreciate the gesture, but I wish we could cut out the materialism wastefulness. My parents expected something from me every year, starting when I was like 8 or 9. No job, no allowance, nothing. I tried to make stuff for them for a few years but it became obvious they wanted nice, expensive things they could use or appreciate. Tools, appliances, things for their hobbies, you know, stuff that a kid wouldn't be able to get. Starting mid-November I get wildly depressed because I know I'll budget out some money for gifts and then have to spend it all to keep myself alive. Basically, maybe we all have different definitions of appliances or something, not ovens or washing machines. Really, from the examples I was given, a stand mixer or a food processor would have been enough. Diamond wedding rings, overpriced and a nasty industry. Lab created stones are so much prettier. Also moissanite, holy crap, the sparkle off those stones is so intense, and at a fraction of the price of a diamond, and is nearly as hard as a diamond as well. Diamond is a 10 on the Mohs scale while moissanite is between 9, 25, 9, 5. My first 3-stone diamond ring was stolen. Piece of crap maintenance guy, and my husband replaced it with a moissanite. It's gorgeous. Working new doctors to exhaustion. At this point it's just hazing. In my country new doctors are expected to work in rural hospitals. The thing is the doctor to patient ratio in Thailand is 1,500 STH. That's mean I could end up being the director of a hospital in the middle of bumfuck nowhere working upward to 36 hours shift at 25 years old. This patient care tends to be at its worst in the graveyard hours of the 24-hour duty. I have seen mistakes happen, and there was the time that thanks to overwork I got a seizure, so instead of endorsing patients, I got endorsed. Destroying public or private property when your city's sports team has won a title. Or lost in Vancouver's case. It's not just Vancouver. Most collages riot when they lose, and party when they win. Female genital mutilation. FGM is so ducked up, the fact that it has gone on long enough to become a tradition even more so. You should watch Desert Flower. It is about a Somalian model who had genital mutilation. It is about her life. Where I live, there's one tradition where whenever a girl gets her first period, for her to avoid growing pimples on her face, she has to smear the blood on her face. My mom did this to me when I was 11. She added water to the blood thinking at least it wouldn't be as bad. I'm forever scarred. Edit. Since lots of you guys are asking. No, it does not work. Although I don't get much acne. A lot of the other girls I know who did this tradition have had acne problems from puberty until now. Where do you live? I'm not OP but I'm from the Philippines and this is often done in the provinces. Not too much in the city. Edit. You know what? I would simply cite my parents as a source but I know that won't be accepted too easy. So here's a few web-based sources supporting what I'm saying. https://www.likely.com my/10 Asian beauty superstitions that our elders made us believe growing up. https://www.rappler.com move pH issues gender issues /93686 menstruation hygiene myths https://www.cosmo pH lifestyle /5 Pinoy period myths https://www.Bradley Phyllis Philippines superstition wash your face with menstrual blood https://hellaclue.com articles culture /36 superstitions about periods from around world. No. 27. The modern wedding. Encouraging a new couple to spend upwards of $3,000 for a one-day celebration is ludicrous. Don't get me wrong. Celebrate the union. Invite friends and family. Eat food and play music. Just don't break the bank in the process. Edit. It's been wonderful replying to your comments. 3 Edit 2. Thank you my mysterious silver benefactor. 3 is less than 3 is less than 3. Why O instead of 0? Y and 0T. Honor killings. Not so far from where I live now, lived a brother and sister. Their parents died in an accident and the sister took it upon herself to take care of her little brother and became his stepmom. A few years later, the brother grew up and became a young man. He could finally take care of himself, and his sister finally saw it as an opportunity to start living, so she started seeing some guy. The brother did not appreciate it. One day when the sister came home, he forced her to drink poison he made by himself. Police reports said it took her hours to die, all while he was sitting there watching. So much honor was brought to him that day. What an ungrateful ducking dog. Fancy birthday parties for kids, and the ones that include all the parents getting drunk. The parties seem to always be about popularity and making each party the best party. I have a sister that did this and it got so ridiculous. The parties cost hundreds of dollars more every year, and every year it was more about the adults and less about the kids. Whatever happened to just having kids? Some games, a cake and gifts? Not saying there shouldn't be any parents, but it shouldn't be about the parents having fun. It's about the kids. Amen. I just went to a kids party at the weekend and there was a jumping castle, petting zoo with pony rides and a balloon twister. I couldn't believe the expense of it all. I have 2 kids aged 6 and 3. Apart from Mr. 6's last birthday, their parties have consisted of a family gathering with plenty of food and soft drinks and cheap balloons and an ice cream cake with some candles. When my son turned 6, we loaded up the car with him and 3 of his best friends and took them to a video game arcade for 2 hours. They had a deal for unlimited games for 2 hours for $20 and we had a 50% off coupon which gave them bonus laser tag as well. And then took them to McDonald's for lunch and ice cream afterwards. We spent under $100 and had nothing to clean up, and the kids had at least as much fun as they would have if we'd spent the same kind of money the 2 years I mentioned above did. And an ice cream cake, my man. Shark hunting, when hunters remove the fins and throw the shark back in the water. That's both wasteful and downright evil, making the poor thing suffer. I was just about to add this, but instead I'll second your comment. Way too many sharks are killed and the fear mongering drives me crazy. Scuba diver / hung out with men at toothy bois. They're cooler. And the non-toothy bois are even cooler. I'd love to see a whale shark in the flesh. Huge gentle filter feeders that can live off the British coast. How cool is that? Big expensive weddings. Even worse, destination weddings. When they have a whole week of shit planned. And now I gotta drop $5k for flights and accommodation for the family on top of some duck and $800 KitchenAid mixing machine from their luxury as duck wedding register. How about I just give you $2k cash and you host it at your house, which you can't now afford because you used that money towards a deposit rather than providing Becky with all you can drink Bellamy's so she can pose and hashtag Fiji Bellamy's best life dumbed down to impress her Insta trash friends. Breathe Rand. My friends are holding a wedding in Japan, and I was only just able to afford it due to a hefty sale on return flights by one of our local airlines. Flights are typically up to $1,500 return. But this was $500 and I wanted to go to Japan anyway. They then went ahead and changed the date. Now luckily I arrived the day before the change date, but this just seems like a huge ducking faux pas to me. Acting like men in general are inept when it comes to household chores and childcare. It should be considered normal for men to be taking responsibility for these sorts of things. Edit. RIP inbox. I am the father of a 2-month-old girl, and you would not believe the praise I get for basically just existing within 5 feet of her. By any woman over the age of 50, you change one diaper and the whole older side of the family acts like you're the first man to help raise his newborn in human history. Really makes you realize how staggeringly low the bar has been on some fronts. I remember when my girl was a toddler and we were in a supermarket. She wanted something. I said no, and a short-lived tantrum ensued. Typical toddler crap. Some lady comes up to me mid-tantrum, smiles, and says, "Oh, she just needs her mommy." Now I was the enraged one. It was all I could do not to say, "Duck off, lady. Daddy's doing just fine." Teaching young boys to hold in emotions and man up. It's okay to cry, it's not a girly thing. It's a human thing. You only bottle up feelings for them to finally release when you don't want them to. There's a difference between being healthily stoic and unhealthily emotionally cut off. It's all about a good balance. Boys and girls should be taught not to cry because of silly things and to learn to control their emotions, while also being allowed to express themselves and talk about their feelings. Tipping. Seriously, just pay people a living wage. Commercialization of holidays. We don't celebrate ones that are to make money. You show it through the year, and there's no need to spend so much on Christmas. Thanksgiving has become almost like an afterthought in recent years as stores now open at 6 p.m. for Black Friday shopping. Probably the most American traditional holiday celebrated by everyone has to be botched for those retail workers who have to go to work that day. I have never once celebrated Black Friday. The Friday after Thanksgiving I'm seeing friends and family and getting wasted. I don't need more crap. No one does. Standing at the position of attention for long ceremonies, such as a change of command. In the 120-degree heat, we would have to supply troops for all the formations when I was stationed in Phoenix. Numerous troops pass out every single time, but they continue to put people through it because tradition. Add 24 guard duty shifts into that. It's absolutely insane, incredibly unsafe, and directly causes a fair number of deaths each year from soldiers trying to drive home after 24 plus hours awake, which is effectively driving drunk, ducking insane. I mean, that's a huge problem across all the branches. Insane scheduling and exhaustion played a critical role in the Navy collisions in the last couple years. Those cost lives. The Air Force seems like it does better until you talk to a captain about how many amphetamines they're taking on mission. Normalized alcoholism in society. It's so bad here in the UK that half of all police time is spent dealing with alcohol-related incidents. Imagine the uproar if that were any other drug. There would be calls for a clampdown on offenders and harsher deterrents. It's not a drug addiction, I swear. I do it for the taste, I just do it socially, all I used as excuses by people who can't admit they have a problem. Releasing balloons for celebrations. The devastation it wreaks on wildlife is horrendous and inexcusable. Honestly, balloons in general, useless, and the helium-filled ones are creating a helium shortage if I remember correctly. They're literally trash, usually single use, and so cheap that they're everywhere. Men being the one that have to make the first move. I love the holy shit look on a man's face when I make the first move. I know, right? I've almost always been the one who made the first move. If I'm reading all the signals, I just ask him out for coffee. I love it when a guy makes the first move too, but it shouldn't be the man's responsibility to risk rejection every single time. Accepting overworking to be a normal thing. The 8-hour workday was a hard-earned right by labor organizations and unions, but now it seems to be slowly going away and nobody cares. Straight men acting like their lives are over when they get married. Ball and chain mentality. I'm trapped in this marriage even though I am the one who proposed marriage. I'm forced to have sex with this one person that took me years to convince to have sex with me exclusively. Whaling. Can we do it on the moon? Only if you carry a harpoon. Hazing in fraternities and sororities. There has got to be some kind of wholesome yet challenging tasks that must be completed to enter one without putting people's lives at risk or making them do something disgusting and overly humiliating. Why are these young people such sadists? You'd think chores would be the most obvious. No one wants to do chores. I'm 29 and I don't want to do chores. That is about what hazing in most modern fraternities is. You just don't hear about it because pledge is forced to clean up house after party isn't a great headline. A lot of chapters have cleaned house because national organizations want to avoid the press of killing someone. Chinese traditional medicine. I know a lot of other people will say this, but put bluntly, China. Stop eating parts of endangered animals or selling them as some kind of sick-ass miracle cure for cancer or what have you. Everybody's tired of it. A close second in these regards would be Japanese black market whaling. What do they call traditional Chinese medicine that actually works? Medicine. The time change, my god, it's the worst. Agreed. And I thought we were getting somewhere with that. I always thought it was for the farmers. But my friend who lives in Saskatchewan was visiting recently, and they don't do the savings time. So they were 2 hours behind in the summer, and 1 in the fall. And I'm pretty sure Saskatchewan is mostly farms. It is such a screw up every time. Came here to say thank you cards. Saw honor killings and female genital mutilation and decided to reevaluate everything in my life. Expensive funerals and the works. The judgment of someone when they literally just want to be cremated and the ashes scattered as a ceremony. Excessive and over the top Christmas celebrations and all the pressure usually falling on one person, which is usually the mum. How people choose to live in this economy. If someone finds it better to be living with their parents, then so be it. If someone lives with their parents and grandma and other family members, then so be it. If someone is in their late 30s or 40s and still with roommates, then who gives a shit? I hate the belief that the ideal is to have your own place and even a nuclear family unit in this day and age. It's of course more than fine if you believe in these things. I just dislike the judgment when someone might not conform. My funeral will cost a fortune. There's no other way about it. I'm a big guy, and a cannon large enough to accelerate my corpse to escape velocity costs money. Being forced to only marry somebody who is of the same ethnicity, because if you don't, you're going to be disowned. I had to make a throwaway for this. My family is Indian and I'm honestly not sure whether I can marry who I want because of this. I know that my brother is bi and I want him to date who he wants without fear of being rejected by our parents. Team up. If both of you make a deal to do this, your parents will have to accept it or risk losing both of their kids. My sister and I are in a similar position over this. There's a country that abducts girls and forces them into marriage. It's illegal, but they don't enforce it because it's tradition. Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, right? Really makes your stomach turn. The mindset that you always have to sacrifice and enable for family and kiss the ground your parents walk on and take care of them when they're old for doing the bare minimum to take care of you because they would be charged with negligence and reckless endangerment otherwise. My parents both made it really clear that they didn't want me. Now I'm an adult, and since I don't need them to keep me alive, I've obliged my father by cutting off contact so that he doesn't have to be saddled with a daughter anymore. Of course, he cries and tries to manipulate me through other family members, but he set the precedent, and now we both have to live with it. Children don't ask to be born. So if you resent and abuse them while they're helpless to get away from you, don't be salty when they're empowered and disinclined to stick around for more mistreatment. You quite literally did it to yourself. I'm going to see my abusive mom tomorrow for dinner to meet her new husband. It's a wild time to know as much as I do about child abuse now. Thinking about the dichotomy of her being both a great mom who sacrificed a lot for us, and also an abusive mom who was abused herself and couldn't keep herself from passing her trauma down. Black Friday. In the last few years it has encroached into Thanksgiving Thursday, and the tradition of competing for an item by waking up early the next day has devolved into rioting before the turkey is even cold. Bullfighting. What about cockfighting? Animal fights in general. For me, a tradition that definitely belongs in the past is the massive slaughter of whales and dolphins. Women being automatically favored for child custody. Seriously, you have to show up in court with a needle of heroin sticking out of your arm to possibly lose some custody of the kids. Seems like the amount of kids that have been abused because this law made them stay with their abusers is too high to count. Not allowing elbows on the table. I still don't get why this is rude. Oh, I think I have an answer for this. I read something a while ago that said when people were eating they used sit very scrunched up together at a table, so putting your elbows on it was taking up more room for yourself and leaving less for everyone else. I think it was a Viking thing, but I read this on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt. I think it's from an era of more bench seating and elbows on the table take up more space. It continues because if your elbows are on the table you are more likely to be blocking off your neighbors from socializing with you or others. For the most part it should be more about not putting your elbows on the table and then eating a sandwich, finger foods that create a wall of arms, and ignore incidental elbows if your arms are otherwise down. But the kinds of people who are rude enough to point out others' failings in etiquette are rarely interested in anything but being a jerk face. Living vicariously through your children just because you want them to achieve something you never could or would do yourself. That tears families and generations apart. Let your children live their own lives when they become adults and let them get their feet wet. Happy Cake Day. T hard Ks for T gold key NDST Ranger. Edit. OMG, can't believe this blew up. USA voting on a Tuesday. I understand the roots. I understand why it was useful when voting was an event worthy of travel. But now it just disadvantages the busy and the poor. Telling men to suck it up and quit having emotions. The now new tradition of releasing a video game broken as duck and then promising to fix it just to drop support later and monetize it to hell and back. Fixed marriage. Why force someone to marry he she don't like? SMH. Family holidays. I don't mean get rid of the holidays. I mean we need to stop guilting people into spending time with family members they don't like or don't feel safe around because it's the holidays. Looking at you. Thanksgiving and Christmas. Daddy, daughter chastity balls. Like what type of ducking incestuous shit is that? Tipping. Employers should pay their employees themselves. Forcing your religion onto your children rather than letting them decide on it. Asking a father's blessing before engagement. I agree, but thanks to it my dad had one hell of a proposal. My grandpa was pretty much on his deathbed when my dad asked for his blessing. He started crying and shaking, and my mom heard the crying so she ran in and was like, oh my god, are you okay? And grandpa couldn't even speak because he was so happy and my dad was just on the spot like, will you marry me? Bride kidnapping in Kyrgyzstan. Women needing to be mothers. Gender reveal parties. I get it's exciting to know if you're having a boy or a girl, but I think having a big party to tell all your friends and family what kind of genitals your infant is going to have is pretty weird. Plus it can push all kinds of toxic gender stereotypes. Veneration of virginity, especially for girls. The notion that women are sullied or used up in some way because they express their sexuality has caused centuries of harm, and the idea that virginity is a kind of cultural resource that society needs to conserve, enshrined in aspects of almost all religions, needs to be dispensed with. Discovering your sexuality at the time which is right for you and at your own pace is an exercise in self-knowledge and self-awareness. Society has no right to say otherwise. Singing happy birthday. People hate being sung to and people hate singing it. Child marriages. If our education system was a tradition I would say that it has to die. Burials. Women taking their husbands' last names. If you still want to that's fine, but when I was married I was constantly harassed for the fact that I didn't take my then husband's last name. Do you want to know what my name would have been if I did? Paige. You can see why I chose to keep my maiden name. Only guys asking girls out. Like why? Facebook. Just all of it. Japan's traditions of excessive whaling and the dolphin slaughter. 2 words. Sagging pants. Circumcising people. Children and adults. Men and women. All people. It's just duckdemo. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.